Do you ever have things from your childhood that you thought everyone did as a kid, but turns out to be specific to just your family? Like, did you know that not everyone celebrated St. Patrick's Day by building leprechaun traps that were just shoeboxes wrapped in tinfoil and covered in stickers that you would prop up in the garden with a stick and then leave overnight, and then in the morning the box would be on the ground and you would open the trap and your brother would be there wearing welding gloves to catch the leprechaun, but when you opened it there's just a note from the leprechaun saying, "Oh, not this year," and some like chocolate coins. Did you know that not everyone did that? Because I didn't, and I didn't find that out until I was like 18, and apparently I'm still not over it. Another thing that my family did when I was a kid that's actually relevant to this video is we had these things called herbies that my mom made. They were basically just fabric sacks of rice that you could heat up in the microwave and use them like a little heating pad. I know this concept is pretty popular. I've seen other people make them. I've seen them for sale in different places, but I've never really seen other people call them herbies. And I always thought it was just like a branding thing or like a trademarked name or something or just like a regional thing. But when I mention the term herbie to people who are not my blood relatives, they have no idea what I'm talking about. So I fear this is another thing that my mom made up. And at this point, when I was writing out what I wanted to say at the beginning of the video, I was gonna make a joke about how like, oh, well, Clean Clarice from The Princess Diaries calls it a herbie, so there. Because in the second movie, when she gives Mia the wooden leg so she can ride side saddle, she has it like disguised as like a really long herbie, and she calls it a herbie. But I rewatched the scene to like confirm that I didn't make it up, and I did. I definitely made it up. It's not disguised as anything, it's just in a bag. The leg's name is Herbie. I don't know why it's called that, but she's not like hiding it by pretending it's a heating pad. I just, was a little kid and she called it a herbie and it looked vaguely like a herbie. So I was like, yeah, that's what that is. Thought I had Julie Andrews on my side here, but it might be on my own. Anyways, I'm going to be calling it a herbie. And today I'm going to be making a herbie that looks like a cat. I'm going to be developing a pattern. I've got some secondhand fabric that I'm going to use, and I need to make it fairly quickly because this is actually a birthday gift for somebody and I need to mail it to them and I want to make sure it gets to them on time. So let's get going. So I started the design process with a very rough sketch. What I'm picturing is basically a long, narrow rectangle with a little cat face embroidered on one end, patchwork stripes for the back, and little legs, ears, and a tail sticking out to make it look like a cat stretched out flat on its belly. I think that will make it a good shape for like sitting on your neck or shoulder or to lay across your stomach for like cramps or something like that. I determined the length and width of the body by taking a tape measure and going, yeah, that looks about right. So the beanbag part of the cat will be 14 inches long and 5 inches wide. Then I went into Adobe Illustrator and worked out the dimensions of the rest of the design based on those measurements. When I was happy with the proportions, I pulled out one copy of each piece I would need to cut out. So like, I'm going to be making 2 ears and I want them double-sided, so I need to cut out 4 pieces of fabric, but I only need 1 pattern piece. I added seam allowance by adding a 3/8 of an inch outline around all my pattern pieces. I also made sure to label what each piece was and how many of each one I needed to cut out, and then I was ready to print. Now this first version of the pattern was pretty bare bones, just the pieces with labels and seam allowances, but since then I've cleaned it up and written out instructions and put together a full pattern, which is now available on my Patreon for the $5 tier and up. This is my first time making a pattern, so it's definitely not perfect, but if you're interested, the link will be down below in the description. Okay, so for the fabric for this project, I'm going to be using some pillowcases that I got from the thrift store. I'm not going to need a whole lot of fabric for this since it's going to be fairly small and all the pieces are fairly small, so didn't need very large pieces like bed sheets or tablecloths or anything, so pillowcases should be more than enough. So both of these are 100% cotton, which is very important for a project like this, for something that's going to get heated up. It needs to be made with natural fiber fabric, so cotton, linen, wool, that kind of thing. Definitely not any sort of synthetic fabrics like polyester or rayon or something like that. This is going to get heated up. Those can melt, so you need something that's going to be a bit heat resistant. And with the herbies, you're never going to be heating them up incredibly hot. Like, you still want to be able to hold them, that's the point. So they don't need to be like fire resistant, but just, something that can withstand the heat. So I've got my cotton pillowcases, just did a quick little burn test just to 100% confirm that they're cotton. So I'm going to go ahead and iron these, and then we can start cutting out our pattern pieces. I started the construction process by assembling the patchwork panels for the tail and the back. The back being the top part of the herbie because the cat is lying down on its belly, so the top is the back, and I made the back by sewing strips of fabric in alternating colors to create a striped pattern and pressing all the seams open. I did the same with the tail, making 2 long, skinny rectangles with a rounded end. Next, I moved on to the embroidery. I transferred the designs from my pattern pieces to the fabric, and then used a split stitch to make the face, add pink to the ears, and put toes on the paws. Next, I could sew up the ears, legs, and tail. For each appendage, I sewed 2 pieces together all around the edges, trimmed the seam allowance, clipped the curves, and then turned them all right side out. I pressed the seams, and then I cut pieces of cotton batting for the legs and tail, slightly smaller than each finished piece. I filled each piece with batting to give them a little more dimension. I had initially planned on adding batting to the ears as well, but they held their shape well enough without it that I didn't think it was necessary. The legs and tail, however, had 0 structure and needed a little padding. Now I could begin assembling the cat. I sandwiched the ears between the face piece and the back and sewed them all together. I did the same with the front legs, sewing them in between the lower head and body pieces. I pinned the back legs and tail to the back end of the lower body piece and then sandwiched them between the upper body piece, making this weird tabby cat tapeworm. I sewed all the way around the edges, leaving a gap at the side to turn it right side out. Here's where I found a slight design flaw. I had made the rear end of my cat body curved at the corners to match with the head. This meant that the back legs were attached with a curved seam. So when I turned the Herbie right side out, he was a little, oh no, bow-legged, I guess. So I had to unpick the seam, straighten his legs out, and reattach them by hand. I modified the pattern so in the final version that's up on Patreon, the bottom edge is straight and the legs can just be sewn on by machine. Okay, so I've got all the pieces all assembled. I'm doing the final pressing, almost done. He's fully assembled, he just needs his filling and to get kind of sewn up, and then he should be done. So, speaking of the filling, I saw a lot of commentary online about what you should and shouldn't use as filling for these sort of microwavable heat packs, herbies. So growing up, the ones that we had were just full of dry rice. I saw a couple people on like Reddit and stuff saying, I did it with rice and I microwaved it and it caught on fire. None of these people mention how long they were microwaving it for or at what temperature. So I don't know if they put it in there for like 5 minutes and it started to smolder. I only ever put them in the microwave for like a minute, maybe 2, and never had any sort of issue. So I'm gonna use rice. Rice is fine. It's time to fill the boy with rice. But actually not yet, because I didn't have enough rice and it was too late to go out and get more. So I preoccupied myself by goofing around with the unfilled flat cat. If the body was a little bit longer, I think he could make a pretty cute scarf.
Scar! Brother, help me!
Long live the king.
But once I had gotten more rice and had all the regicide out of my system, I was able to fill him up about halfway with rice and then slip stitch the opening shut. And with that, the Herbie cat was complete. So that is it. He's all done. Nice simple sewing project for this week. I don't know how to hold it. Presenting it here. Let's do that. It came together really quickly once I had the pattern made. From cutting it out to finishing took like a day. It technically took 2 days because I didn't have enough rice, so I had to go buy more. But if I had all my materials on hand, I could have been done in a day. So very quick project, very fun. He's the perfect shape to like sit on your shoulder or like the back of your neck. like on your lap, on your belly if you've got cramps. If you would also like to make your own Herbie cat, the pattern will be available on my Patreon for the $5 tier and up. I will have that link down below if you are interested. Thank you in advance for checking that out. Thank you to everyone who's already joined the Patreon. I'm really grateful for all of your support. Their names will be on screen here. If you would like to join all these lovely people and get this pattern for yourself, the link is below. So I'm gonna go wrap this up, get this ready to mail. I made a little tag to put on it to explain what it is. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, a like and a comment would really help me out. And if you would like to see more of my stuff, you could click subscribe. I post every other Friday. So that is it for today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! He can wave too. He can. Bye!